Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Gyro. Today I am very excited to share with you my thoughts on the very first dungeon in Final Fantasy XIV that made me go, wow, I actually did honestly enjoy that. Yeah, it's a shame that it took me a while to get there, but this is definitely a worthy topic to discuss with whoever wants to listen. As a little bonus, I'll say the same thing about the first trial that I was like, wow, I'd do that again. Interested? Well, let's talk about it. So, my friends, this is not to say that I disliked other dungeons or trials. They were okay, well, at least largely okay. Just did nothing very special for me until this moment. If you watched my early Final Fantasy XIV videos, you would remember that I shared my refugee impressions, WoW refugee impressions, about very first 3 dungeons of Realm Reborn within that newbie stretch, really newbie stretch, which could be basically summarized now as I liked the game a lot straight out of the gate, I liked the community, I liked how the run feels in terms of my interaction with others, but those early ARR, A Realm Reborn dungeons were very bare bones, sterile and unexciting. And yes, a lot of you told me why, because they were made during PS3 era. So there were technical limitations and other kind of stuff. Regardless, they were kinda, yeah, meh. There was nothing to be excited about in those dungeons. Well, today I wanted to tell you about that very first dungeon that I've experienced at the very end of ARR and that I would do again. Yes, it's a very simple measure that I feel needs to be applied to pretty much any content in the game as a player. I simply honestly ask this question and honestly answer it. Would I do this thing again? And then it comes to this point where I would absolutely, definitely recommend to my fellow WoW refugees or people new to Final Fantasy XIV coming from any other area, and I would absolutely once again run the Keeper of the Lake dungeon. I personally would. So what is so good about it? Why am I gushing about it? Why do I want to talk to you about it as a special deserving video? Point number 1, first of all, the story, the main story questline that led us to this point. It had its ups and downs, and we will talk about it in another video where I will say formal goodbye to ARR. That's another video that's coming your way very shortly as I leave ARR for good. But here the story led us to this culmination, to this particular moment that was actually quite meaningful and quite exciting for me as a person who even skipped some of the boring quest text and some of the boring content that people were telling me, you should read it anyway. Nah, I still haven't regretted skipping it. When it's meaningful, it's really front and center, and I don't think I missed anything, and this is an example of it. This dungeon wasn't just some mines being overrun by pirates hanging out in a cave or some kobold summoning a primal. It was actually interesting, and I caught myself thinking for the very first time in a while in my playtime of Final Fantasy XIV. I caught myself thinking, what's gonna happen next? I'm actually interested to know what's gonna happen next, and that kind of is a massive props to how this dungeon was set up in the storyline and by itself. Now, talking about the setting, a broken skyship in the middle of a lake, surrounded, wrapped by the remains of a massive dragon. Like, how is that not exciting? That is definitely better than some boring mines, no? Climbing this effectively spiral tower of a wreck, kind of, with this very strong, kind of almost industrial derelict feel to it. And I love, you don't know maybe my likes and dislikes in terms of other type of media, other type of movies and other stuff, but I can tell you I like the whole post-apocalyptic derelict feel to whatever is being presented properly. So this is absolutely my thing, and somehow in here I definitely got a dose of that. So I think that definitely is a reason why I really was like, yep, that's totally my jam. Dungeon trash was so-so, there is nothing to write home about here in all honesty, but I did enjoy the particular area where we needed to clear kind of these Magitech Colossi maybe, or whatever their names are, freeing them up from the energy barrier holding cells, and I thought that was neat, and I thought that was a nice little touch. It wasn't just the boring next pool of 3-4 mobs, next pool of 3-4 mobs. In this case, the Colossi used to shoot at us, at my group, from behind the barriers while we were dealing with their friends on the outside, and then we needed to open the cell, so that was alright. The absolute highlight, without a doubt, and it wouldn't be surprising you, are the bosses. I think the bosses of this dungeon are the first few bosses where I was like, yes, enjoyed tanking it, enjoyed seeing them, enjoyed just being part of the whole experience. The first guy, the first boss, called Einhander, which in German means one-hander, actually had one hand, and it used it to fetch different types of guns to blast my group with. Also, there were explosive barrels that needed to be pushed away before it all gets too bad for the group. I thought it was a lot of fun, I honestly did. Plus, if any boss or anything in a game is holding a minigun, I'm a fan of that straight away, sign me up. Second boss, a gunship, an actual gunship. Like, yes baby. I loved every minute of it. The look, the dynamics, the mechanics of the fire AoE everywhere. Look, if you look at it, if you try to dissect it in terms of mechanics wise, maybe it's nothing super groundbreaking if you start looking at it too critically or too closely, which I'm not gonna do here because it was a lot of fun how it was set up. Then this gunship, right, keeps flying overhead and blasting the area as your group continues running, revealing further paths through the dungeon, like breaking walls and sort of creating this path for you. I loved it. I loved it. Most importantly, neither of the bosses, not this one, not the first one, not the last one, they didn't feel like a pushover. I came to this experience straight from running the raids of Crystal Tower that I spoke to you only a couple of days ago in another video, and that felt like a pushover. That felt like I was irrelevant as a tank. My role was irrelevant. It's very hard to enjoy it. It's very hard to be excited about it. Here, absolutely not. Like, the group could not rush through this just through button mashing. It doesn't matter how you are, you know, buying the best gear already possible, the item level 130 gear towards the end of ARR. It doesn't matter. You still could not stomp through this. And that level of basic challenge is what I like. Not super duper hard, but definitely not super easy. Now the final boss encounter was awesome. Even though mine was horribly spoiled by sudden lag and disconnects. Even though I ran the whole dungeon, all the first parts of the dungeon were recorded here in this background footage and you can see it with no issues whatsoever. I am kind of learning to live now with this horrible performance element of the game. Yes, I'm just calling it for what it is. But as I said numerous times, I will think twice and look further at these patterns before actually committing to and setting up a paid subscription of the game going forward. I want a better, more stable experience, full stop. People keep telling me they are adding oceanic servers, mate. Yes, my man and my lady, I heard about this 100 million times. When? When? It's not happening yet. So this is what it is. Let's stop talking about it. It is a fact that the performance is not acceptable at the moment, and I just go off luck in many ways, unfortunately for me. The whole group suffered from my disconnects as a tank, from my disconnects, as well as my healer, who was also from Australia. He was lagging and disconnecting too, so it wasn't just me. Maybe mine was the worst one, but they definitely disconnected, so it definitely wasn't me. We both were on different Japanese data center servers, in case you're interested. I was on Ramu, and the healer was on Toonberry, if I'm not mistaken. So, with this obvious fun killing stuff out of the way that I'm still dealing with, the encounter itself was great. It was once again complex enough to have to coordinate rather than just face roll through. We needed to pay attention to the area damage on the ground. We needed to work together on making sure that the right ad is killed so that we have a shield to hide under. We could not just to stand there, or I could not just stand there and swing my axe, as majority of other encounters, with some exceptions obviously, as a majority of other encounters go. My group needs a particular shout out here. There is a very limited chance that these people are watching, but my group was nothing short but amazing. Absolutely amazing spirit of common purpose and a goal, very positive, reassuring messages, encouraging messages to each other throughout. Zero blame, zero blame. Even though if my tank was repeatedly disconnecting all the time, I probably would start losing my patience, me as a person. But these people, they want me to be better. They want me to be better, and I look at it and I'm like, good on you, my people. Thank you very much for not blaming me. All I can do for you is come back and finish the encounter. And we had to retry like 3 times before we killed it, and that did not, as you can see, put any negative thing in my memory on this encounter. It's not like I was like, oh, let's wipe the sweat off my forehead and just carry on and forget about this like a bad dream. No, I made a video about this because overall it was an awesome run. I also had a very recent trial experience as part of main story questline that I enjoyed a lot more than others, and it was Shiva. Here once again the story part was great, and then the boss itself was just gorgeous. There is just no other way to describe her. And I'm such a fanboy of Shiva now. The design, the detail, the fight mechanics of hers were, well, nothing too advanced, but cool enough, and I loved everything about it. The freezing, the ads, yeah, it was just fantastic. That's it for today, my friends. That's all of my stories for you of what I wanted to share with you. Hopefully it makes you excited if you're a newbie of Final Fantasy XIV and you're still going towards the end of ARR. Well, there are at least a couple of things that resonated with me strongly enough to make this video. For those of you who are experts, who have played this for a long time, tell me in the comments down below, what is your favorite dungeon and trial in Final Fantasy XIV? If it's still ahead of where I'm at the very end of ARR, please keep spoilers to a minimum. If it's within ARR, please go right ahead, full bore, and let's have a discussion in the comments of what did you like, what didn't you like. Do you like Keeper of the Lake? Do you like Shiva? Do you not like Shiva? Let's start a fan club. That kind of stuff. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Subscribe if you haven't already for more similar casual adventures in Final Fantasy XIV videos, and I'll be speaking with you again very soon next time. See you later. Bye bye.